Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Polity, a program that focuses attention and dwells extensively on trending political events within Nigeria and even beyond the shores of the country. And joining me in the studio is Dayo Omogun. Dayo Omogun is a public affairs analyst. In fact, he's into everything. Dayo Omogun, beg your pardon. He's into everything, but he's a public affairs analyst, which makes him an expert in every area. Dayo, you are welcome to the Polity.
Thank you very much. Do I call you Maucauley?
Maucauley, Hunohashi.
All right.
Well, Dayo,
yeah.
You know, so much is happening in Nigeria,
Right.
Particularly in the political firmament, from the attack yesterday on the former deputy governor of Edo State, to Labour accepting 70,000 naira new minimum wage, and to representatives, House of Representatives slashing their salary, up to 50% of their salary, to also help in cushioning the hardship Nigerians are confronting for the next 6 months, to Senate moves to establish an agency that will be starting with the conduct of local government elections, following the ruling by the Supreme Court to give local governments autonomy. So also Minister of Education, cutting, banning underage, that is, a child that is less than 18 years from, getting admission into Nigerian university tertiary institutions. So much is happening in the country within a very, very short time. But let's start with Edo State, with the alleged attack on the convoy of the former deputy governor of Edo State, Feliciano. A day after the court reversed his impeachment, the federal court reversed his impeachment by the State House of Assembly of Edo State. Let me start with the reversal of the impeachment pronounced by the court judgment. When you receive that news that the Federal High Court has reversed the impeachment by the State House Assembly, what came through your mind?
Well, what came to my mind immediately was the fact that in the final analysis, the third arm of government is, first of all, is still alive, and that because you see, we have come to a point where it looks as though the assembly, houses of assemblies in the states are just mere toys in the hands of the governors. They can sway them in whatsoever direction that they please. But when you have an arbiter that can say, no, this that you have done is not properly done, then, and that arbiter is up to its game and is saying what it ought to do based on the information, based on the facts available to it, then I think that was quite welcome. It was quite encouraging. But then I knew also immediately that it may not become effective. It might be dead on arrival, if you want. Because I do know that there are all kinds of tricks by which the man may never get into that seat even till the end of this tenure, which is what is exactly playing out. Because immediately, if you listen to the news that very day of the judgment, there were aides, the lawyers to the state government already said that they were going to ask for stay of execution. And so definitely, if they ask for stay of execution and they get it, clearly they were going to start another round of litigations. And we know that litigations are not things that happen overnight. So, and elections are coming up already in September, and then the tenure of this governor ends on November 11th. And so, when you look at it, we have barely 4 months. I don't know whether that's correct. You have about 4 months for the tenure to run out. I think that, well, it's a good thing that the judiciary is saying this is not properly done. Even if you want it done, you should follow the due process. But the truth is that in the end, it's most likely that this man will still be frustrated out because of the time that our judicial process takes normally. So I do not see Shuaibu actually returning. And so what happened yesterday, I do not know whether they've gotten their stay of execution. It was to ruffle him. It was to tell him, look, in spite of whatever, we can still show some knuckle. We can still frustrate you. I guess that's what the message was, to ensure that within that space of time, they could buy time to ensure that they get a stay of execution, which will, legally prevent him from returning. Because else, it would be a kind of because especially, and I speak with all sense of responsibility, the governor, the sitting governor there has shown so much vindictiveness, and people, watchers of that state who can bear testimony to this. So he's not going to let go. He's not going to let go, even though that could be very detrimental to the chances of his candidate getting back. So that's my take. The fact that, yes, it's a good thing that the judiciary is standing up to its duty and saying, look, this is not properly done. But at the same time, you can see clearly that he may not have the benefit, the dividend of whatever justice is going to come. Because if the judgment comes in November, for example, of what use is it? Of what use will it be to the man? And so that's what I foresee. That's the situation I foresee.
Now, in an effort to return to his state, immediately after arriving at the airport in the company of the APC governorship candidate Monday Kwebolo, there was an attack.
Yeah.
And during that attack, the policeman attached to the governorship candidate was, he also lost his life.
Killed, yeah.
How did you receive that news?
No,
what does it portend?
That's very unfortunate. That's very unfortunate, and it says so much about the security, the general security around people and around the security personnel, the risks that they have to face, the hazards of their profession. And it's rather unfortunate that even what happened could happen, especially considering the people who were involved. You're talking about a governorship candidate, you're talking about a former deputy governor, and if their security cordon or security architecture could be broken into so easily. So what hope does a Hunohashi or a Dayo or Omogun have? So it's fearsome, and it ought not to have happened in the first instance, and I feel so much pain for the family and loved ones of that police officer. And these are the realities that they face every day. These are the reasons why some of them can't, they look at their jobs like, having a death sentence hanging upon their heads every day. Every day step out. Of course, somebody will say they signed for it. Yes, they did. That's the more reason why we need to really give them support. That's the more reason why the system needs to strengthen them, equip them right, and fund them right. Make sure that every comfort that they can get, whatever is their privileges, they enjoy them. It's very painful. It's unfortunate. Well,
our politics has always been combustible, and we hear politicians, accusing one another and counter accusations coming here and there.
Yeah.
After that incident yesterday, the camp of Philip Shuaibu accused the administration of Governor Obaseki of having carried out this, what they call assassination attempt. And I've listened to a media handler of the district governor today, who was, denying those allegations. He even heaped the blame on Philip Shuaibu, saying he was the one that masterminded, that attack. So what do you think is playing out here?
See, I think that this proverb is quite popular around Nigeria, that when the witch cries in the middle of the night or the night before and the baby dies in the morning, you know where the death of that child is traceable to. So, see, it's clear. Of course, you can't, we've got to be very careful, these particular words we use. But, from all indications, who stands to lose by the presence of Apollo and in company of a former governor, or former deputy governor? Who stands to, whose popularity is being tested, whose territory seems to be threatened, whose authority seems to, because again, this is happening immediately following the judgment. So, you can put 2 and 2 together to get your 4. This didn't happen before now. That man has traveled through that airport several times before now. Okpewolo has traveled through that airport before now. The ex-deputy governor has traveled through there. Why didn't it happen before? Because, as at those times, the government or the governor and the government had thought that it was, the issue of the ex-governor put paid to. I mean, it was, nailed already. So a situation where they feel that this guy could rise again, and knowing Shuaibu himself, I mean, there are people who would get such a judgment and sleep on it, and they want to take some time. And Shuaibu is not that kind of a person. They will want to enforce it.
Yes.
And so, knowing that, and knowing that it probably will come and try to resume for duty, they probably put those things in place. So you do not expect that the person speaking for government will come and say, "Oh yes, we did it." They're not going to do that. Okay. So clearly, we all have an understanding of what is playing out without being told so precisely. We can sense what's going on.
Well, viewers, at this point, my producer is going to display the telephone number on your screen so that you can also call it. Is right there for you to also call in so that you can make the program interactive by joining us and making your comments. Let me ask you, Dayo.
Yeah.
Eyewitnesses say a station, a Sienna bus was stationed right at the exit gate of the airport.
Okay.
And those that carried out the attack, rained bullets from inside the Sienna bus. If governorship candidate and a former governor will be that vulnerable in spite of the security,
like I said,
like you said earlier on, then how scary could that be?
I mean, like I said, like I.
So before I answer that question, let's start our first caller.
All right.
Hello, you're on to the Polity. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, this is Mr. Gideon calling from Lagos.
Gideon, you're on. Your comment, please.
Yeah, you see policemen putting their life on their line of duty to protect our politicians. Yeah, enough is not done for them. You can see what happened to Donald Trump, the president of the United States.
Yes.
How the security agents who use their body to cover up, to form an armor to cover the former president. Because they know the sensitive. They know if they are being shot and their life was cut short. They know the insurance incentive that their family will get. But in this country, the policemen, the security agents are never remembered. Even the people that they are protecting, the lawmakers, they can never fight for the policemen and the security agents in terms of their integrity and their remuneration.
Okay.
Unless they cry before they be able to be considered. Look at the cry of the policemen concerning to remove them for this police pension or something. It is not taking years to consider the policemen to be removed for this their pension of 18.
Okay.
After serving 35 years. They are not even considering anything since former President Buhari. And it has not been approved now. What has this security agent done to this country?
Okay.
That even now, they are clamoring for a state police. They cannot maintain the policemen on the ground.
Okay.
They cannot pay their local security agents. They are clamoring for state police. They cannot pay 70,000 minimum wage for their workers, but they are clamoring for police when you cannot maintain your workers. How will you pay your state police that you are calling for?
Thank you, Dayo. Thank you, Gideon.
We should not deceive continue deceiving ourselves.
Thank you, Gideon. You have raised very, very valid points. Thank you so much, Gideon. Gideon, the call from Lagos, is raising concerns for the welfare of the police. Yeah. You were on a line of thoughts before the caller came in. Let's take this one, but don't forget.
Right, that's
good. Good afternoon. This is the Polity. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Go ahead. Your name, please. Beg your pardon?
Barrister Hudson Ogan.
Barrister Hudson.
I'm calling from River State.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Austin.
I know that it's very sad to hear things like this happening.
Okay.
I want the Inspector General of Police to investigate this matter thoroughly. It's an assassination attempt on an APC governorship candidate, and they will not succeed. Let Tinubu look into this matter and use his full might to bring the perpetrators to book. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You've heard Mr. Austin from River State. As a lawyer, he's talking about the need for the perpetrators to be brought to book.
No, I think the way we should look at this, if for any reason that bullet had struck the APC candidate or even Shaibu, just imagine for a moment the level of confusion, the level of violence that would have been unleashed on the entire state, the level of unrest that would have been provoked. And so, see, we should always understand that power is not a do or die thing. That's why we have the electoral process. If you feel that your candidate is super popular, just go behind him, or you think that is the right and proper and fit person, queue behind him and vote for him and let him get the votes. It's as simple as that. We don't have to get violent. We don't have to terminate people's lives for any of these reasons. Okay.
So how vulnerable, the question I asked earlier on.
Yes.
If
of course, it shows that, I mean, our lives are cheap. I mean, it means that the life of the average person doesn't really matter. If people who are surrounded by security regularly can get, their security can be breached so easily, then it means that we...
Okay, sorry, let's take this caller, Dayo.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. You're on to the Polity.
Hello, good afternoon, Maucauley. It's Sally calling from Jos.
Sally, regular caller. I salute you, Sally. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much. Your program today is packed really, Maucauley, with a lot of topics, and a lot of callers are focusing. Talk about the local government, creation of the local government electoral commission. You talk about the 18 years minimum age from next year. You talk about minimum wage, and you talk about reverse politics. Now I want to pick sharp, so that we call on this. For Philip Shaibu, I feel the governor has not been fair to this man. I think the man has sacrificed himself when the governor truly needed him when they were decamping. Had it been that time that Oshimole was pulling Philip Shaibu to his side when they were contesting for election, I'm sure Obaseki wouldn't have come back as governor. So Philip Shaibu sacrificed himself, hoping that this man will support him. Now he turned his back against him. Now he's trying to take him out of the picture. That is very wrong, and I really feel for the policeman that lost his life in the case of this issue of protecting the governorship candidate of the APC. Going to the creation of the local government electoral commission, there's no need for that. There's really no need for that, because INEC had already covered those grounds. So it's like you're duplicating another office. You're taking out the state independent electoral commissions, and then you are creating one agency for them. Government doesn't need to duplicate more agencies. In the 774 local governments in Nigeria, INEC has an AO, that's electoral officer, mounted in those places. So you don't need to create anything again. All you need to do, hand over this position to INEC, and INEC will take over responsibility, and they don't need to even employ more staff. That is the language. There is no need for more staff. There is no need for more chairman or any other state independent electoral commissioner. For the issue of minimum age requirements for students, I am for that. But the correction needs to be taken from primary and secondary school. Once we don't do that working, today the parents just dump their children from 1 year, they dump them in school. Before you know, a child is even 8 years, he's done with primary school. So by the time you're putting him another 6 years, he's done with secondary school. So he has to stay 2 years at home. It happens to my nephews. They have to stay 2 years at home because of why they are not up to 18 years. So this age requirement of entering nursery 1, private schools are the ones doing those damage. They need to clamp on them, whereby a child needs to be 2 or 3 years. When we're entering school, your hand has to touch your other side of the ear before you enter nursery 1.
So these things need to be checked properly and calculated. 16 years, go to university and say 16 years old children cannot even wipe their nose very well, and then some people are putting them into cultism. A lot of them are entering prostitution in a younger age because of peer pressure. You put a 16-year-old with a 22-year-old that is in 400 level, you know what will happen. So the minimum wage, well, the federal government already put a benchmark in 70,000. Labour had already agreed on it. Now it's for Nigerians to plan inward. People should start farming. Mostly our quarrel is on feeding. Food is what is dealing with people in Nigeria. Then people should go back to the farm, meaning that government needs to provide security in the villages. If government provides security in the villages, then people can go to farm in peace and farm what they can eat and produce, they get fertilizer for them. That is very important. Lastly, the River State issue. You see, the governor is doing things with two people assembly. I have never seen where that is happening. Where you say you have another person standing as a speaker, only him, and there's no deputy speaker, there's no chief whip, there's no majority leader, and you say you have a government. I have not seen that happening anywhere. For me, it's wrong. Whatever the issues are between you and your predecessor, put it aside and do the being part of the constitution. Anyway, they have told him that come and present this budget. For the past 3 months, they are trying to take him out of office. This man is not going anywhere. The man is not a registered member of the APC. So you cannot use that sense and say he has decamped, and so the court said there is no document showing that this man has decamped. Maybe he stopped following your own PDP, but it's in another PDP. His principal, Wiki, have not left the PDP, so why are you saying he has left? So please, the man should do the right thing. Match up with this House of Assembly and work for the betterment of River State people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Saleh, for your call. Saleh is a regular caller, and I can't remember a day that we had this program that Saleh has failed to call in to make valid contributions, and he has gone ahead to even preempt all the other topics, the 6 topics that we have lined up in discussion. But that's okay. He has set the ball rolling, and we are still on the.
So I was saying that that really gives a sense of insecurity to the average man on the street, because you look at people that you call big men, quote unquote, and they are almost, I mean, they almost hit them. I mean, if you hit somebody's police escort, you're almost hitting him. So they could have taken one of those people out, and what it means for the average person is that, look, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. And I think that the government should work on its security system. And for example, one of the things I expect is that these security personnel should be properly kitted, such that maybe they have what do you call it now, bulletproof vests and all that, because their jobs are very risky. They need to have bulletproof vests, maybe helmets and all that, to ensure, at least to cut down to the barest minimum incidences like this. Yeah. Okay, now Dayo, let's look at Saleh has preempted that conversation, so let's move to that one, and that's the question of the move by the Nigerian Senate to create an agency that will be saddled with the conduct of our local government election. That is, in view of the current or the recent judgment by the Supreme Court. Saleh disagreed. He said there is no need for it. Saleh has just called from Jos. I also would disagree with it, because in the first instance, I have never had faith in the CX. I mean, that is the State Independent Electoral Commissions. You would find out that all through the period that these CX have conducted elections, the elections usually go in favor of the sitting governor, and it goes in you have 20 local government areas, and maybe the 20 local government areas vote in one direction. It cannot be true. I was on a program a few weeks back on AIT, and I said the same thing, that this cannot be true. And so that puts a question mark on the integrity and the credibility of the elections which these state electoral commissions conduct. So if on the strength of that, and coupled with the fact that this new judgment has come to play, I think that indeed it's better for the central INEC, which is what Saleh also hinted at, that the central INEC should just take over that function. I mean, I think the INEC body is still a lot better, INEC has its issues. It's not perfect. It has weaknesses in terms of logistics. Sometimes it creates all kinds of problems itself, artificial problems, when you say, oh, we're going to announce results using technology, and then you turn back and say, oh no, you see, this is that, after investing so much money in acquiring such technologies. So they have their issues, but I do not think that the level of distortion that we get from the state electoral committees, I do not think that that can ever happen under the watch of INEC.
Okay.
I don't think
so. This Dayo. Yeah. Good afternoon. This is the Polity. You're welcome. Welcome to the Polity. Okay, we have lost that caller.
Yeah.
Dayo, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Precisely on the 16th of February this year, 2024, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gave a directive for the full implementation of the Orensenye report.
Right.
And one of the, the pillar of the, or recommendation of the Orensenye report is the reduction in the number of ministries, parastatals, and agencies. Now, we've woken up this month, early this month, where the president has already given a directive for the creation of an additional ministry, the Ministry of Livestock Development. And yesterday, the Senate is moving in motion. It has already passed first reading for the creation of an agency that will see to the conduct of the election of local government chairmen and councillors. Doesn't that smack of confusion?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a level of confusion there and cluelessness, if you ask me. Now, but the point is this: let's take note that I think that was being proposed by the Senate in terms of the local government electoral commissions is going to be a replacement of the state electoral commissions, which means that there's no addition there. It's one taking over one, so it's still one. You understand that?
Yes, but it's going to be a federal agency.
Now the authority will
with additional funding.
I mean, don't see
additional bureaucracy. Additional bureaucracy.
They will be with additional bureaucracy.
Yes.
I guess that's the reason why I and Saleh agree that it's better for INEC to just take over, because, like he already explained, INEC has representation all over the country already, has structures all over the country already. So it's no use coming to create another body to do the same work that INEC could do. Now, but like there's a slide, a point that could be lost there. It is in the final analysis, it is one agency being created to replace another. It's not an additional one. It's important, and then it's just that the authority will flow from the federal this time and not from the subnationals. Now, so that's having been taken. I also think that whatever it is that is the goal, there are, from time to time, there are issues that will come that will be treated specially. I think that the issue of livestock development is important enough to get a ministry of its own. Yeah, because we've had several issues. We've had, do we go ranching? Do we go, what's this other option of Ruga? Or do we allow the animals to roam freely as they currently do, and all that? So those are very tenuous issues that need to be properly resolved, and you need a body, and I agree that you can have a ministry in place to tackle that on its own. Because
it cannot be a department.
It can be a department, but we know that we have had those departments in place before now, and how much effectiveness have we got? Yeah, so constantly you want to rework your system, you want to rework your governmental architecture to achieve whatever goals that you set.
I just remember go ahead.
So because we definitely can do a whole lot more on the livestock value chain that we're doing right now.
And I agree with you
exactly.
on that.
And so the ministry created could take up that and first of all educate people, maybe spend so much money, educate people that, look, this business is not being taken away from you. This business, we want to improve it in your hands, so you can make a whole lot more fortune, and then you don't have to go through the rigor that you currently go through, and then we won't have all the conflicts that we're having. And I think that conflict is a major reason for the setting up of that ministry. And if that's the reason, I think it's worth it. Because you see, lives have been wasted unnecessarily, resources have been wasted unnecessarily, And so if this is the way by which we can resolve those issues and move forward and make fortunes from that sector and truly really mine the value chain, I think that it's a path that is worth going.
Dayo, we have a caller.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, this is the Polity.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the Polity. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Elder Statesman calling from Benin.
Okay, Elder Statesman. Go ahead, you are a regular caller.
All right, I'm listening to your program.
Okay.
Please, for the issue of the topic you are just talking about now,
Yeah.
the Ministry of
Livestock.
Livestock. I want to also propose that if the Nigerian government is going to settle down with the Ministry of Livestock, I also think there is a need to just scrap Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay.
So that it will not be Ministry of Livestock and Food Security.
Okay. That's his proposal.
Because you talked about Oronsaye report.
Yeah.
Instead of reducing military agencies and departments, here we are now creating more. Because Ministry of Livestock, one time, is a department in the Ministry of Agriculture before. So if they are going to substantiate Ministry of Livestock, they have to have food security so that Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources could just be scrapped.
Okay.
Because if we continue that, it's going to also be a duplicity of function. So that is that. I will propose that it has to be Ministry of Livestock and Food Security.
Okay, thank you, Elder Statesman.
Then for the police matter.
Okay.
For the police matter, you see, like what happened in Benin yesterday. You see, oftentimes you create a monster that you cannot control sometimes. Because during election or before election, you see the way the police people they act. Seeing injustice being committed, they will close their eyes. But first of all, I want to sympathize with that police man. I want to sympathize with the family of that policeman that lost his life.
That's right.
But the evil, I want to say that the evil of training is this: is that one day the beast will turn against you. So if our policemen want to get things right, before, during, and after election, our police should sit down and look inward. Everybody know what is justice and injustice. We must choose one of them. If you follow injustice, you wait for the outcome. If you also follow justice, you also wait for the outcome. So that's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You heard him.
No, I do not agree with him on the issue of scrapping the the original Ministry of Agri, because that's the whole essence of this creation, is to separate the livestock development from mainstream agriculture. You're talking crops and all that. I think that this, because of our peculiar experience, I think that makes it important for the creation. Now, don't forget that even the Oronsaye report has not actually been how do you say implemented. Now, so if, for example, that is implemented, there will definitely be a reduction. And see, life is not. I think in addition to that, if I understand Elder Statesman's proposal very well, I think he's proposing the change of nomenclature. Instead of going the whole hog through the stress of creating a new ministry, creating new bureaucracy, creating source of funding. If you remember, a committee was set up headed by Ganduje. They did a whole lot of work, submitted to Mr. President. Mr. President now took a look at it and appointed former INEC chairman Mahmoud Jega. It's a whole gamut of activities. What he's proposing, from what
I can deduce is just change of the nomenclature. The current Federal Minister of Agriculture, just rename it Federal Minister of Livestock Development and Food Security, and we'll continue to do the same thing.
No, I still do not. I still do not agree. See,
Okay, go ahead.
The truth is, do you know that you can put transportation and aviation together in one ministry?
It was,
but they are huge sectors.
I agree with you.
Now, so when you put those two things together, you're not likely going to get efficiency and effectiveness. So the whole essence of separating them is to ensure that they can be focused. I mean, energies, resources, knowledge, skills can be focused on this area, and at the same time it can be done here.
You made valid points. Let's take this caller. Good afternoon, this is the Polity. Go ahead, sir. Good evening, go ahead, raise your voice, please. You're not audible enough. Network is bad. Try to call back again, please. Sorry for that, the network is epileptic. Go ahead, Dayo.
So I mean, the essence, there will always be, see, there's no one-way track to governance.
Okay.
You are constantly looking for how to make lives better.
Okay, we have a caller.
Yeah.
Hello?
Good afternoon, you're on to the Polity. Your name, please, where are you calling from?
Yeah, this Gideon once again.
Okay, Gideon, go ahead. You're calling from Lagos.
Your last caller was blaming the killing of the policeman on the activity of the police in Edo State.
Yes.
I think he's making a great mistake. I think if you want that video, if policemen could have taken action to retaliate by losing one of their men, innocent people could have waited down. Because of orientation, the training, they were able to secure the lives of the governor and the governor of the APC. They control themselves. Tell me the activities of the policemen there that warrant that they should be blamed. And they are controlling cultism in Edo State. How do those people that attack the Shaibu convoy, how do they get arms? Is it the police that gave them to attack the police? We should be sincere. We should not always raise blame on the policemen. I don't know. Whatever, if somebody fought in his house, they will raise to report to the police. They will later fall back to the police. I don't know what the policemen have done in that case that is now kicking against the police this thing. When you have a lot of, well, it depends on call now. Maybe his first son is in cultism. Because cultism has dominated Edo State. And the election is coming up. The election has not started. And they're already attacking the deputy governor.
Okay.
And you say you are fighting cultism.
Okay,
you should know that the election coming up is going to be a terrible situation to control.
Thank you, Gideon. We don't pray for that. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gideon, for your contributions all the time. Gideon has always been a regular caller, and he makes very valid points. And you know, my takeaway from his contribution is that there's a lot of cultism, cult activities in Edo State,
which the police have.
And he mentioned something that's very scary, that is going to be very, very volatile, the election this time around.
Yeah, the way it's going. Yeah. So. Like I was saying concerning the separation of
yes.
I think that for me, especially because there has been a source of conflict that has resulted in loss of lives and property, I think that it is worth some level of more focus and more attention. And I think that's what government is trying to do by setting up that ministry.
By setting up that ministry.
Yeah.
And you think the clashes between farmers and herders
will be resolved. That's the hope. That's the hope. Because I mean, we're talking about food insecurity, food shortage, food challenge. I mean, food scarcity, very expensive food. Today, I don't know how much you buy beans. I mean, and I'm shocked about beans, particularly on Gari, that you spend 3,000 plus naira to buy one mudu of beans, and then you spend 1,000 naira plus to buy Gari. I mean, this is bewildering. And so, if whatsoever can be done to ensure that there's a reversal of this very ugly trend, I think that I'll go for it. Okay. I mean, I'll go for it. And then the point should also be made that government should go ahead and get the political will, the balls, to implement the Orosai report, so we can at least really truly have what is manageable.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still on the Ministry of Livestock Development.
Yes.
Nigeria is a very complex society with multifaceted demographics.
Yes.
You know, and different areas of interest. Do you envisage any pushback from anybody or any group of people?
It depends on the perception. Yeah, because perception.
Because there are perceptions.
Exactly. It depends on the perception. If a group of people, for example, the people who trade in livestock, the major people who trade in livestock are from the northern part of the state.
Allah has already commended Mr. President.
Good. So their perception is that this ministry will take care of their needs, will attend to them. And so that's a good one. At the same time, every other person within that space should see it that way too, that solution is coming to the problem. And if that is taken generally, if they can get a generality of the stakeholders in that sector to believe that, yes, a Daniel has come to judgment, then you can be sure that
there is a perception.
There will be no pushback.
Yes, tell me. There is a perception for takeover of land. How can such thinking be, persuaded to
no,
otherwise?
I think that the creation of this ministry is what should even assuage such fears, such concerns, because the concern has been, and I recall that an aide to President Buhari did fire a very terrible, a big error some time ago when he said, is it not better for you to release your land and be alive? That was I mean, there are no words to explain how terrible that statement was. So the truth is, I believe that we must have, and I think that that's what the Tinubu administration will do. We will have a Ministry of Livestock Development that takes care of people's lands, that ensures that people's lands are not taken off them, and that ensures that livestock are not destroyed, are not stolen unnecessarily, and ensures that both land farmers, I mean, what do you call it now, crop farmers and livestock farmers can coexist peacefully and profitably. Because what we have right now, for us, I mean, if we're going to be honest, and the reason why we have food shortage is the fact that you have situations where, number one, fewer farmers can go to their farms. Fewer farmers can go to their farms and feel secure enough to walk on their farms and bring food out. The second point is that you have situations where people's crops are being eaten up by livestock that are roaming. Now, so there has to be a way by which these two contending, I mean, they ought not to be contending. They ought to be in partnership. But there's no way we can be in partnership if my own produce is being eaten up by you. It's not going to work. And there will constantly be trouble, and the losses will continue. So I believe that with the advent of this ministry, that's the exact thing that will be taken care of on both sides.
Now, let's move to education.
Yes.
The education sector has been plagued by so many challenges, so many that we cannot begin to reel them out here, because time will not permit us. But yesterday, the Federal Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, made a policy statement where he said the federal government, and it was at a policy meeting with Joint Admission and Matriculation Board Management, where he did say that there's a ban for any child that is beyond 18 to gain admission into tertiary institution or any university in the country. How did you receive the news?
I think that, first of all, I saw it as a lack of proper planning or deep thinking, critical thinking, because you cannot come up with such a policy statement when my child has gone to buy JAMB form and sat for the JAMB exam and has gotten the results. The child is happy, and then suddenly, from nowhere, you bring in a new law that all the JAMB money, all the JAMB preparation, all the JAMB results is a hoax, and she's going to have to wait for another 2 years that she did never prepare for, that was never in the calculations at all. I think that was so very wrong. But luckily, Hours after, he reversed himself.
Yeah.
And I think I remember that the first time, there have been hints at this, and I think the first time it came from the JAMB registrar, some months earlier. But I kept saying that even if they have such a policy, they cannot implement it immediately. They would need to inform people ahead. Now, while I agree that many times children get into higher institution away from their parents, away from close scrutiny of their loved ones and all that, and in the process they get into all kinds of crimes, they get into prostitution, they get into hookups and whatever. By the way, these hookups still happen under the noses of parents. Now, but it gets worse when they have the freedom, the latitude to do what they please in school. So it's important that children actually should get to a certain age of maturity where they can take fairly rational decisions on their own and can be less they can be less influenced by other persons. Now, but even then, if you want to implement such a thing, I expect that if my child finishes at 16, because you see, it's generally known that the idle hand, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. If a child will finish school, and most children today finish school at 16, in fact some finish at 15. My daughter, who is expecting to go and waiting for UTME now, will be 16 in October.
What was her reaction when she
ran to me and said, "Daddy, this is what's going to be her fate." So I said, no, it's not going to happen. I was very confident even before the minister reversed himself. I said, it's not, because you see, if the minister insists, the level of distortions, the level of disorganization, it's not worth it. It's better to let this go and then implement it in subsequent years.
And the implication would have been falsification of
age, all kinds of things. All kinds of things. And our system permits it.
Yes.
So now, I am saying that even if you want to do that, in order to avoid a situation where within those 2 years that the children have to wait, government can put in place a vocational training program that is affordable or even free. That, look, within this period, if you finish, you can go for this technology training, you can learn typing, you can learn computer, whatever, you can learn sewing, and it will be done at the cost of government. I mean, that will take care of them, ensure that they're not just roaming the streets, they're not just sleeping around, they're not just involved in drugs or Yahoo scams. But if we just leave 2 years, the truth is that in the first instance, private institutions may take advantage of it. They just discuss with the, say, okay, just bring a birth certificate that says that you're 18, and then you come into our school. And many parents would rather have their children in school and be free from fears of all kinds of things that could happen to them, than spend 2 years. 2 years is a whole a very long period. Another aspect to it is to insist that primary schools do 6 years, because what you find in private schools is that most private primary schools do 5 years, and from 5 years they get into a higher institution. They get into the secondary schools. So maybe government must ensure and maybe pass a law, first of all, by that you would have won 1 year. So if a child gets in by 6 years into primary school and does 6 years, that's already 12. In fact, by the time you add another 6 years of secondary school, which is GS3, 3 junior classes of secondary and 3 senior, the child is already 18. So it's up to government. It's up to government to enforce that, look, this is what we want. From age 6 to age 12, you are in primary school. From age 12 to age 18, then you are you finish secondary school. Now, but there are also other problems to this. Why do parents rush off children to school and want them to quickly finish? First, most parents, both husband and wife, are working class right now. There's nobody that you can truly depend on to take care of those children at home. That's why by 4 years, some children are already in primary school. They finish, even if they do 6 years, they're finishing at about 10. And then they get into secondary school at 10, and then when they finish another 6 years, they're just 16. So there's a whole lot of issues that need to be resolved. It's not something to jump up one afternoon and say, this is what we're going to do. No, I think that the minister and his agencies, particularly JAMB and some other allied agencies, need to go back and sit back and think this through and really attend to all the connected issues to ensure that when they come out, even parents or everybody will buy into the program. And
now, still on education,
then sorry, they talked about the cutoff mark.
Cutoff mark, that's the question I wanted to ask him, yes.
I feel that it's dismal to ask that somebody can get into polytechnics with 100 marks cutoff. 100 marks signifies 25%.
Yeah.
25% has never been a pass mark.
It has never been.
Has never been a pass mark. Now, you go ahead and say that to get into university, the floor, I mean, the JAMB has come out to say, don't say that we are giving cut-off marks to universities. We have only provided a benchmark. You shouldn't have such a dismal benchmark, because it allows failure already. If you permit 100, then schools will use it. I do not see why the examining body, okay, so why do you do up to 400 marks? Why don't you just do 200 marks? Maybe do 50-50 mark tests. That is the 4 subjects. Don't do 50-50-50 and then do your whatever. But whatever it is, anything less than 50% has never really been pass mark. Even 50% will come to about C. It's not anything extraordinary. It's not excellent. So why should we, in this era, in this generation, where there's technology, you can read on your phone, there are books on phone, the access to knowledge is so wow, you can't express it. That's the time you want to reduce. Why are we making things? We seem to be cutting a failure. That's the way I look at it. So you say polytechnics can accept. Polytechnic benchmark is 100. What do you mean by that? So somebody gets 25%.
Exactly.
And then he can get into school. So what's the whole essence of the exam in the first instance?
That's a very huge question that requires huge answer. And Dayo, there has been a crisis that lingered for quite some time, and that has to do with the national minimum wage. And yesterday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had a meeting with leadership of organized labor, where they jointly agreed on 70,000 naira, and labor has accepted that one. And secondly, in view of the current economic hardship confronting Nigerians, members of the House of Representatives have decided to slash their salary by 50% so that they can contribute in buying foodstuff for Nigerians in the next 6 months. That will be our area of focus. But that will be after we've come back, after taking this breather. Viewers, we're going to take a breather. Very shortly, we shall be back. Please stay with us.
After months of intense negotiations, the federal government and organized labor have reached a landmark agreement on a new national minimum wage of 70,000 naira. This announcement was made by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, following a crucial meeting between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and labor leaders at the presidential villa.
We're happy to announce today that both the federal government and the organized labor have agreed on an increase on the 62,000 naira minimum wage. The new national minimum wage that we expect Mr. President to submit to the National Assembly for legislation is 70,000 naira. But that is not all. There is also a boost, like Mr. President has assured, in ensuring that massive investment is going to be made in the area of infrastructure. There is also a deepening of the investment of the federal government in renewable energy.
In addition to the wage increase, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed a resolution of salary issues of members of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Education and Associated Institution, NASU. The President has instructed the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning to work out the modalities for payments.
He promised and asked that the Minister of Finance, coordinating economy and budget and the economic planning should make sure that they go back to books, because he has the discretion to look into of NASU, ASU, and SANU and all that, and so that their money should be paid, and they should work out the modalities, whether it's 50% or whatever, but that he has given that waiver to be paid, because of course that it's issue of no work, no pay.
Labour leaders have expressed cautious optimism about the agreement. Joe Ajero, president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, highlighted the importance of the shorter review period and the government's commitment to addressing other labour concerns.
What they have announced in terms of the amount of 70,000 happen to be where we are now. But the good thing about it is that we will not wait for another 5 years to come and review. Rather than accepting on a figure that you wait for 5 years, it's like you have to now negotiate even 2 times within 5 years with a view to going up. That is one of the reasons, why we decided to reach where we are today, because of the proviso that, you can review in the next 3 years.
The Trade Union Congress President, Festus Osifo, also welcomed the agreement, noting the government's responsiveness to labour's demands and the importance of keeping universities open.
This is going to be done every 3 years. 3 years. The next review will be 3 years. And after that pronouncement, we from Labour, just has been said that, well, we have received what the president has promised from both ends. And as he has said that, well, we made a case for both the SANU and SANU and NASU. We made a case for them that the president should, as a father of the nation, should look at it compassionately and do and so that we'll not have a case where universities will be closed again. That is actually a problem, because it's the children, your brothers, my brothers, are attending these universities.
The new minimum wage proposal will be presented to the National Assembly for legislative backing. The government's dedication to improving the lives of Nigerian workers remains steadfast, promising future investment in infrastructure, renewable energy, and other vital sectors.
You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Polity, a program that focuses attention on unfolding political events within Nigeria and many parts of the world, and we're taking a look at the entire gamut of Nigerian political firmament and happenings there. And still with me in the studio is Dayo Omogun, a public affairs analyst and a concerned Nigerian. And our telephone number will still remain on the screen so that you can call to make the program conversational and more interactive. It is your show. Please do call in. And now, Dayo, let me ask you. You've just heard that report from our correspondent. You saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then you also heard the Minister of Information, pontificating over the 70,000 naira offer for as new minimum wage. That's Mohammed Idris, and also you've heard the Minister of Labour and Employment, Honorable Nkiruka Ehejocha, as well as Joe Ajero, the NLC president, and Osifo, his counterpart on the TUC. And my takeaway there is that Labour said they agreed to that offer because of additional incentive that the government offered, attached to the proposal. What were your thoughts when you first heard the news?
First, I wasn't surprised, because many months before now, and yesterday I also posted that on my Facebook page, that I had predicted this sum, specifically the 70,000. Okay. I had predicted it many months ago.
You were that prophetic.
And it turned out prophetic. And it's not going to be more than about 70,000. In fact, some other time again, I did a live and I said, look, I think that what the Labour was asking for was laughable. See, when you make demands, it should not be laughable, and it should not be beggarly. Now, so a situation where you were asking for 675,000. I mean, how much was it?
650,000.
650,000 was laughable.
It was initially 494,000.
Then it went to 609.
That was beyond laughable.
Exactly. Because, I mean, if you put that together, I did a live on Facebook sometime, and I said, if you put that together, that will come to about 7 million naira for the lowest paid civil servant. It's not feasible. It's simply not feasible. We should know that. But okay, some people argue that if you want the sky, I mean, if you want the treetop, then you demand for the sky, and in the process, you could probably get the treetop. So
when you say it's not feasible, is it because against the backdrop of our economic situation in the country?
No, see, it's against the backdrop of the fact that if the minimum is that, you should work out in your mind that how much will the permanent secretary now get. Will you now pay the permanent secretary like 5 million naira a month?
Exactly.
And so when you put all that together, is it going to be feasible?
Not feasible.
Exactly. Because we're not just talking about the lowest paid person. The moment you hike the lowest person's package, you are also thinking of the effect, the effect on the other cadres.
Exactly.
So because of this 70,000, it's possible that somebody who was on 200 is going to like 280, 300 right now. So you must take into cognizance that calculation when commenting on this matter.
So 70,000 is feasible, as far as you're concerned.
No, look at it. That's why we need to even be very circumspect. Because a few weeks back, even the governors were still crying that they cannot pay 62. It was 62 at the time, and they said they cannot afford to pay 62,000. Don't forget, in the previous, the current 30,000 naira. Some states, it took them 5 years after it was agreed before they began to pay.
Yes.
In fact, I hear that there are still some places, one or two, that eventually did not pay that 30. Now, so I think that one of the narratives that has come into the public conversation now is it not time to democratize, to deregulate the minimum wage? Because let's look at it. Let's be very honest.
Pay what you can afford.
Exactly. The money that goes to Delta State, the money that goes to Bayelsa State, it's not the amount that goes to Ekiti State or goes to Yobe State. That's one. Two, the level of productivity, you can't compare the two. I mean, you can't compare. You can't compare Lagos. You can't compare Lagos. Exactly, with Sokoto. Clearly. And then the cost of living in Sokoto clearly cannot match what obtains in Lagos or Benin City
or Port Harcourt.
So it's important. I think right now we must gravitate towards saying, okay, see, and I mean, I think that Labour is still not agreeing to that. In actual fact, part of what I heard is Tinubu has given a guarantee that he's going to help the states, to achieve the 70,000. But see, when politicians or leaders speak, they speak according to convenience, what can make them get you off them
the way the mood and the pulse.
Exactly. What they know that they can speak to you and you will leave them right now is what he has spoken. He's not under any compulsion to make that happen. So it's important for us to grab what is real. So I wasn't surprised at all that it came to 70,000. I start from there. But see, one thing also that is mischievous is Labour telling us that they agreed because of certain things, certain incentives that were attached, without necessarily spelling them out. See, what happens in these issues is that you create a situation where people think that you have been bought up. Because if you say there were incentives, that's what will interest Nigerians. No Nigerian, 70,000 naira is less than the money for buying a bag of rice right now. So clearly, it's not as if it is enough. It's not as if it is anything to rejoice over. So if you say you have agreed, but by the way, when I predicted that over maybe 6 months ago or thereabouts, if it had been given at that time, it would have been a lot better than after. See, again, I feel sympathy for Labour because government, particularly this government, knows how to wear you out. They are fantastic negotiators. They will wear you out to the point where you have nothing to really, you just, please, let's go. I think that's where they have pushed Labour to. That's part of why Labour agreed. Because for how long are you going to be talking about negotiation over minimum wage? Exactly. There's a way they wear you out. You say, look, whatever we're able to get for our people, let's get it. That's one. Another thing is, in the first instance, when you talk about national minimum wage, are we actually talking about national minimum wage or national minimum civil service wage.
Okay.
Because if you're talking about national minimum wage, then it means it should be enforced even in private concerns.
Yeah.
Which is to say that the minimum for if you work anywhere,
any employer,
it should be 70,000.
Yeah.
Does that happen? No.
So that will include a private sector.
Exactly.
State governors.
You should cut across.
Subnationals and even local
what you call
governments.
national minimum wage right now is actually not national minimum wage. Even at the 30,000, there were private schools that still pay teachers 18,000 naira.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is for. When you pay somebody 18,000 naira, is it to make sure that the person just comes to work? So there are a whole lot of issues. So what were those incentives? Why were they not spelled out immediately? That's what will gladden the heart of the average Nigerian.
Okay, let's take this caller. You've been trying to call us since. Hello, good afternoon. This is the Polity. You're welcome.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Go ahead. Your name, please.
This is Mr. Rotimi from Ilorin.
Go ahead.
What I wanted to say about the issue of minimum wage is that our government, they have a way of doing their things, and that was exactly what you have said now, that they have a way of wearing people out. But what I would suggest is that if it is possible to introduce price control system, I think that one would be better, because the rate at which the prices of food and commodities is going in Nigeria, if we are not careful, it's only growth that can bail us out. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Rotimi from Ilorin. Did you hear him?
Yes, I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So now, I actually think that if you do 70,000 naira and you fill the place with CNG buses like you have promised and you have promised and then we have not seen anything. If you actually make those promises good and the buses are available and the cost of transportation goes down, number one, there will be a spiral effect of that on several other things, because it will mean that people can bring food from the villages into town at cheaper rates and all that. People can commute at far cheaper rates than they currently do, and then the business of transportation can be less. I mean, you won't need so much money to fuel, and you won't need, I mean, so you can make your margin. So I think that that's an area where you need to intervene. Now, that's one. Two, it looks as though the government of the day, and I had tremendous support, I mean, love for Tinubu as a person while coming into office. I kept saying that I do not believe in the party. The party has failed woefully, but I think that I believe in the pedigree of Tinubu, considering how he handled Lagos. But I right now I think I'm getting disappointed. I must be frank. But see, I had expected that if you promised buses, they should have been here pronto. Yeah. Already, we talked about planes or a plane being bought for the presidency, and we saw pictures that the planes arrived. It shows that it can be done.
It can be done.
But I mean, it now clearly says that, look, you guys don't matter. When we want it done pronto, we could do it. So that says a whole lot about whether government is truly concerned about the plight of the common man. So now that's an area. Now, so why would you not exact your maximum might to ensure there's security on farms? Now we're trying to go import food. We have been told that we'll get food at lower cost. What is it? These tariffs will not be charged. Customs duty will not be charged, for 6 months. What is 6 months in the life of a nation? Okay, you are distributing 880,000 bags of rice, 25 kg. Well, how far do you think that will go? Maybe the government does not understand that this is not like the safety net people alone problem. This concerns people who are working, who earn some. In times past, if you earned 100,000, it was considered as something fairly good. Today, if you earn even 250,000, you don't quite really survive. I mean, you barely survive. Now, somebody was saying on radio yesterday, do I recall correctly, that he says that he earns whether 98,000, but that he pays 97,000 to buy fuel for his car. So now, how are you going to stop that kind of a person if he has access to funds from dipping his hands into it? Because he has to survive.
It will take the grace of God.
Exactly. He has to survive. His family has to survive. He has to eat. At least he must eat. So how is such a person surviving? And how do you want him to survive? So, I mean, government and labor, particularly government, must take this a lot more seriously. And I'm glad that the House of Reps has shown some level.
Okay, that's the question I want to ask now.
Has shown
as
some
we
level
down, as part of their solidarity and sacrifice to support the economic hardship and hunger currently confronting Nigerians, House of Reps, like you are trying to say, have decided to slash their salary by 50%.
By 50%.
How did you receive that?
It was good news. It was good news as far as I'm concerned. Some people say it's too small. That it should have been charged.
Their salary is 600,000 naira.
Yeah, that's basic, please.
That's basic salary.
So some people say it should have been on their allowances. But whatever it is, it's a demonstration of the fact that these people see that there's a problem. And they are willing to at least give something. Now, I posted on it on my Facebook page, and I did say, look, this is good.
And they want to do it for 6 months.
And they want to do it for 6 months. It's possible that they could extend it. So I was saying, imagine if the Senate would do the same thing. And imagine if the executive arm would now cut substantially the cost of governance. I mean, you still find in these hard times, a minister going with a convoy of several cars. Are they not being fueled? Are there not drivers attached to those cars? Are there not security personnel who are in some of those vehicles? And are they not those cars not regularly repaired and fuel and all that? So, if we want to make life better, it must be something that cuts across. You know, I was on a radio program and somebody was asking. It was President Tinubu was saying, I've forgotten the commemoration it was, that Nigerians, Eid al-Fitr that just passed, that he was beckoning on Nigerians to make sacrifice. And I said, is it the half-dead person that will come and make sacrifice?
They're already on the ground.
Exactly. So there's no space for any sacrifice. You're already, in fact, you're already a sacrifice on the altar. So yourself. So what kind of sacrifice are you expected to make? Now, so I think that government must be a lot more serious about these things, and labor must put them on their toes. Not necessarily by adding money to pay, because like I said now, it doesn't even cut across. It doesn't apply in the private sector. Okay,
now talking about not applying to the private sector.
Yes.
And it's going to be presented to the National Assembly for approval, and it's going to become law.
Yeah.
So what's the implication?
No, see, first, it gets worrisome all the more. First of all, to get to this point, we have spent like a year.
Yes.
Now, for the legislature to pass it, you don't know how many months that will take. And then for the actual implementation, you don't know exactly when that will be again. And so it's so frustrating. And government seems to be doing, this government seems to, I think I veered off. I was going to make this point. This government seems to be taking particular interest, enjoyment, fulfillment, kicks from making life difficult for people. For example, I just found out that ministries, there's a reform that is going on right now where ministries won't be able to pay any of their contractors. Everything is being pushed to the Accountant General's office. Apparently, it could be a fallout of what happened in one or two ministries late last year, and then there were humongous haste going on there. But I don't think transferring it to one particular office does not still change whatever. What you should put in place are procedures, are systems, and then you ensure that there is compliance with those systems. Because see, by removing those things, you have only gone to put it in the Accountant General's office. That place will now be a major bus stop, a major station where huge bribery and corruption will continue, but on a larger scale and for fewer people. In fact, I'll prefer, if you cannot stamp it out, then it should remain the way it was, where a few persons all over the place were getting small crumbs. It's better than that you go amalgamate everything and make the place one huge mine where people will feed fat from. That's what it's going to be. Why would you do that? Now, what it is the bureaucracy is getting worse.
Yeah.
So you do a job for government. In fact, from the information I get, the job you do in this month, up to 15th of this month, goes, all the returns goes to, anything beyond 15th cannot go. So everything of 15th of this one goes to the Accountant General's office. Then they will pay next month. Now, this month is not yet finished, but they will pay next month. So imagine the pain of the contractor. Imagine what it does to the system. Because see, already we have situations where ministries owe people for 1 year, 2 years beyond. You know, when they were talking about best practices,
global best practices.
Of business. What's this now? I did say, see, whatever you have put in place, you have done BPP, you have done tax reform, you have done this one, procurement.
Yes.
It doesn't amount to anything as important as that a contractor does his job and gets his pay.
So now you talked about expenditure. Let's move to River State. And we have 3 minutes to round off.
There's so much.
There's so much. We have 3 minutes to round off.
Talking about
and the Baptist Maucauley led State House of Assembly in River State has shut down all expenditure of Governor Siminala Fubara until he presents his budget before the lawmakers.
You can imagine that we're talking of 24 budgets
in July. Do you think there's seriousness in that?
There's absolutely no seriousness. Again, I think that something has to give. I think that at this moment, I feel really bad. When many people used to vilify Wike, I'm one person who believed in him.
Okay.
Up to him becoming even minister. Because I've seen him. When people say that he's rash, he's proud, I say no. This man understands his position. I cited the example of when he was a junior minister. He was a junior minister to a female minister as principal. And he never misbehaved to that. So he understands his role at any point in time. So if he is also the principal, he expects that you give him full loyalty. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And then you have seen that he performs when given his tasks. So now, but his politics in recent times between him and his godson Fubara is unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I hope that he has someone who's listening to this program. I would really like to, if I can meet him one-on-one, I'll tell him point blank, you missed it. Number one, those guys must be seeing the error in making that defection move in the first instance. The moment I heard it that day, I said, they've lost it. Whatever it is, once the other party, the other side can get evidence and prove to the courts that these people defected, it's a matter of time they will leave the stage. But right now they are holding him hostage. I think that for the sake of the state and for the sake of his own of his tenure of his administration, I think that he should just play along. I think he should just play along for now, and then ensure that the budget is passed and that government can run. Because right now they seem to have him where they want. I don't know how that is possible, considering that this matter has gone to the courts and there have been all kinds of judgment, but we'll see how it plays out. But for me, I think that it's a huge error what is happening between Fubara and Wike. It's very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. It doesn't give the minister.
And that is happening at the expense of governance.
Of governance.
Provisions of expectations of good governance for Rivers people.
Exactly. So in the long run, who benefits? Even the Wike cannot benefit if things continue this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dayo Omogun. I thank you most profoundly for finding time to join me on the Polity today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dayo. 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 I hope that when next we call you again, you're going to hit to our invitation.
I'll be glad to be.
Viewers, you agree with me that Dayo has been very, very insightful in his contribution today on the Polity, and I thank him so profoundly for finding time to come. I also wish to extend my appreciation to our vibrant callers who call in to make the program very interactive and interesting. And on behalf of our producer Ruben Okala and the entire production team that made the program possible, and Rangers Maucauley Hunohashi saying, thanks for being there, and bye-bye. See you next time.